All right, so the devil is nothing but an excuse that the religious mind comes up with in their mind, so they can take their problems that they don't want to deal with, actually going on internally, and actually project that externally to an entity or a deity that is outside of them, so they can talk about it like they have no control of themselves or the problem that they're dealing with. So therefore, we should give them more leeway to be a fuck up, or to be a sorry excuse of a retard and shit like that, right? And this is not just an excuse that only the religious minds use, the religious people use. No, this is also something that just the person who doesn't want to be accountable, the person who doesn't want to actually look their problem in the eye and actually deal with it, will actually come up with some form of configuration or some form of justification to blame their problem outside of them, and not actually look in the mirror and do the shadow work necessary to actually solve that problem. Because most of your problems have nothing to do with the external world. Most of your problems have to do with the internal world, right? Now, for example, one problem that you as a black man or a black woman may have is like, the white man is after me. The white man has their foot on my neck and shit like that. But you need to understand that you don't even need to agree to those terms and conditions. Like, you ain't got no problems in life other than the problems that you create in your own fucking head type shit. Like, you got no problems in life other than the problems that you make up in your own fucking head. And the only reason you would blame something externally, something outside of you, is because you actually believe you don't have the ability to take power and control over that issue. So you're allowing that issue to take power and control over you. So people that don't take accountability, people that blame the devil, actually literally believe they are powerless. So if you black and you believe that the white man got his foot on your neck, you believe you're actually powerless. So you're just blaming white people as an external demon or external devil or external entity just because you can't be accountable and shit like that. So you rather use an excuse and shit like that, not to be accountable to yourselves and shit like that. So you blame that problem externally. You don't want to deal with what's going on internally. And it's all really just based upon your self-image. It's all based upon your self-concept. How do you actually see and feel about yourself? Because if you had a sufficient proper way of seeing yourself, you had your individual character together, right? And you're not on a negative end being too selfish, trying to like take more than what other people got for you and shit like that, right? And your moon chakra is too open to receiving too many influences, and it's making you emotionally chaotic and shit like that. Or you're not able to have a sufficient shield system to defend how you feel from the external world and shit like that, right? Because a lot of the times, a lot of these programs be running through us just as a subdivision of an overall division that is already parasitically possessed by a demon that is just self-blames and shit like that, or just blames others and shit like that. So either way, whether you blame yourself, whether you blame others outside of you, either or doesn't matter, because you want to be able to be balanced. You want to be able to take control of the situation. You want to be able to be accountable towards the situation. You want to be able to be accountable towards yourself, right? Because if you're not doing these things, the external institutions outside of you, which is why actually in religious theology they purposely create the devil, because they know that all of y'all is going to externalize this shit and go the distance with it. You're going to think that these things is pointing to things externally outside of you. When they say the devil, his demons and things like that, they know y'all going to make this concept exoteric. They know y'all not going to understand the esoteric concept of these things, right? So you understand, the devil and the demons is inside of you. It's you, baby. It's you, baby, this whole time. God damn. I know it's tough. I know it's tough. But that's actually a good thing, because that tells you now your problems are you. You are your own fucking worst enemy. That's why we come up with these sayings. You are your own worst enemy. It ain't no Asmodeus. It ain't no Beelzebub. It ain't no Leviathan. Man, you should be glad, bro. These niggas is you already. Real shit. So now that we got that out the way, now that we know that the devil and the demons, angels as well, is nothing but an internal disposition, let's talk about virtues that we experience, which we forge principles to learn to deal with these things sufficiently. right? Like we both might be around an extremely emotional person, aka an extremely chaotic person. But how we actually go about dealing with that person, looking at that virtue, will decide if we are virtuous, or if we are principled, or are we gonna get in there, or we're gonna get lost with that person. Because when you're dealing with an overly emotional person, you're kind of doing like an exorcism on them, because you're trying to take all these fluids, all these waters that are playing out internally as emotions and feelings, and are actually causing them to cry out a little bit or get a little bit sensitive and shit like that. You're actually kind of draining that fluid or giving it like a new direction and shit like that. So that's when you understand how to work with energies. Then you can actually help more people. But if you're sitting down as a religious person and you're blaming the devil outside of you, and you're blaming demons for what's going on in the world, you're just like a superstitious person. Like, you don't actually understand life, you don't understand energies, because these things is real, just not in the concept, not in the context that you've been thought that they are real. So a lot of the times you may have to even get away from these religious institutions that is teaching you these things, so you can actually understand these things from the truest space. Because you gotta understand the reason why they did that, the reason why they never told you that you is the devil, that you is the demon, that you need to fucking deal with in the first place, is because they purposely want you to think it's something outside of you. So you keep going to their institutions and you keep practicing their transmutation rituals, aka attending their Sundays if you're at the church, or attending their 5 days prayer rituals if you're a Muslim and shit like that. So that can actually be the the facilitating ritual, as far as what your mind is using as a mental crutch to rely upon, as far as, yes, you're telling yourself, yes, you is getting out of these negative traits inside of you, that yes, you is dealing with these things sufficiently and shit like that. But you need to understand, like, a lot of these churches, a lot of these mosques, they look good from the outside. The pastors in there, they look good from the outside, because they're playing out light magic, meaning that they're flashing you with some, like, with the consciousness, with a light of energy, meaning that I can come here, I can smile, right? But you don't know what that smile is backed up and supported by. You might think that me as a pastor in church is smiling because you came to the church, and I'm happy for you because you're servicing your Lord Jesus Christ and shit like that. But I might be just smiling and happy and giddy because you're getting ready to pay me my fucking tithes, bro. You're getting ready to pay my fucking bills for me and shit like that. So light magic is just the consciousness that people show you outside of themselves, aka Venus type energy, love, value, appreciate this, and things like that. Oh, look at this idea. The idea is Jesus. The idea is the cross. The idea is Allah and shit like that. But that's the idea. See, you need to understand what the idea in front of you, what's externalized, is always there's always another internalization of what these things mean. Because the same way we have the sun and the moon in real life, we just took these principles and we started building churches, we started building religions, we started building things with these concepts, aka 1 + 2 = 3 and shit like that. That's the sun and the moon and things like that, right? So they can present you with an idea, but you have to understand the feeling that it's backed up and supported by. Meaning that you might have, as a member of the church, you might have to start to feel like, okay, yes, I am a sinner. Yes, these are terms and conditions that you're agreeing to even be part of the church. Because for you even to be saved by Jesus would have to suggest that you're a low, dirty fucking sinner. For you to even be saved by Jesus, you have to agree that you're a dirty, low fucking sinner. And why would you think and feel about yourself that way? So, and that's how a lot of the motherfuckers around the world got colonized and shit like that. When the Society of Jesus, when the Jesuits, when they was going around the world and converting motherfuckers to their theology and shit like that, before sending in the war parties, they will always send in the missionaries and shit like that, because this way they soften y'all minds. They make y'all think like life is about love, peace, and light. But you need to understand how to deal with the darkness. This is why we started this video talking about the devils and demons, because a lot of y'all love being inside of the light, but a lot of y'all ignore the darkness. A lot of y'all don't want to deal with your internal mindsets, your internal feelings and shit like that. So a lot of y'all lives get whacked based on y'all correlating y'all lives with an external bullshit system. You understand? Everything around you externally, for the most part, is a fucking scam. These motherfuckers, they're just trying to get born in the sixth dimension by you paying attention. Because when you pay attention, attention is not free. You're giving up your attention and you're charging up something via you reacting and responding to it. So when you go to church, you are feeding the golem, and the golem is just a mentality and things like that. So instead of feeding someone else's golem, you should feed your own fucking golem. But for you to even feed your own golem properly, you gotta get outside of all the religious shit. You gotta stop blaming people, places, and things externally outside of you, and you gotta start being accountable, and you actually have to take charge of your life rather than letting someone else take charge of your life and calling that the right thing to do because they know better. Oh, they older than you. If they older than you, that don't even mean shit. Age is mental. Like, I'm spiritually wiser and smarter than most people that are older than me. Just because I'm younger, it don't mean that they're older than me or anything like that. In fact, I talk to an older motherfucker the same way I talk to a young motherfucker. It's just about character at that point. It's not about how old you is physically. No, it's about mental traits, mental characteristics. Because you might be mentally smarter than a 90-year-old and 80-year-old. They might just be a slave their whole life. They might just convince you to be a slave too, because that's what they did their whole life. And you know why they've been a slave their whole lives? Because they never took power and control. They never took accountability. Their problems was probably always somewhere out there rather than somewhere in here and shit like that. Real fucking shit. So ain't no problem out there. The only problem you got is in here. And isn't that fucking wonderful? Because if your problems is in here, that means you can take power and control all over them and shit like that. Rather than you getting the church and the mosque to make you to believe that your problems is some external devil, some external demon is going around and making you do things and shit like that. That's great. Knowing that you are your own worst enemy, knowing that you are your problem is fucking fantastic. Because now you can be accountable at least to it. At least now you can take power and control over it and change it, rather than blaming external people, places, and things. I don't care if it's your boyfriend you're blaming. I don't care if it's your husband or whatever. First of all, why did you even get together with that boyfriend or that husband, knowing they wasn't even shit in the first place? It's because you had a low self-image, you had a negative self-concept about yourself, and you wasn't watching out for yourself. You was trying to watch out for someone else a little too much, and you thought you can probably change this person. You thought you can probably whatever movie y'all be watching, whatever Masonic programming y'all be watching. I'm telling you, life is different than those Masonic programs. Watch people live and participate in those Masonic programs, aka the sheep, but don't jump in it and participate yourself. Otherwise, you're gonna manifest everything that they're experiencing as far as the bullshit in their life and shit like that. But yeah, don't blame your problems outside of you, because they ain't outside of you. Your problem is you, and it's inside of you. So deal with that shit. Real fucking shit.